Parenting is one of life's greatest gifts, but also one of its most profound responsibilities. Each day brings new challenges, from guiding our children through their individual struggles to teaching them values that will last a lifetime. The weight of these decisions often feels heavy, leaving us uncertain about whether we are making the right choices or offering the right advice. We are entrusted with shaping not only the lives but the souls of our children, a task that requires wisdom far beyond our own. Today, we come together in prayer, seeking God's wisdom and guidance as we navigate this sacred duty. As parents, we are constantly learning, adapting, and growing alongside our children. There are moments when we feel lost, questioning our ability to provide the love, discipline, and support our children need. It is in these moments that we must turn to God, trusting that He will provide the clarity and strength necessary to lead our families with grace. We are reminded that we do not walk this path alone. God's presence is with us, guiding us through every challenge. Through prayer, we ask for the courage to trust in His plan, even when the way forward is unclear. The journey of parenting is filled with highs and lows, but through it all, we have the opportunity to reflect God's love and wisdom to our children. Our role is not just to meet their material needs, but to nurture their spiritual growth and to instill in them the principles of faith, integrity, and compassion. Yet, even with the best intentions, we often feel unsure about how to navigate the complexities of parenting. This is why we seek God's guidance, trusting that He will lead us in each decision and interaction with our children. Today, through prayer and the intercession of Saint Michael the Archangel, we seek divine wisdom to guide us in this incredible task. We ask for patience, strength, and understanding as we lead our children, knowing that the love we pour into them will shape their futures. With faith in God's plan and the protection of Saint Michael, we trust that we will be equipped to meet the demands of parenting with confidence and grace. Parenting is far more than just fulfilling daily tasks or ensuring our children's physical needs are met. It is a profound calling that God has entrusted to us, one that involves shaping the hearts and souls of the next generation. The weight of this responsibility can sometimes feel overwhelming. We are asked to guide, teach, and nurture, all while pointing our children toward a deeper understanding of God's love and purpose for their lives. Our role is not simply about raising well-behaved or successful children. It's about raising children who reflect the love and values of Christ. In Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, we read, "Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." This verse highlights the immense responsibility we carry as parents and the long-lasting impact we have on the spiritual foundation of our children. Saint Michael, as our protector and intercessor, reminds us that God has entrusted us with this role, and He will provide the wisdom we need to carry it out. We are not alone in this task. God's guidance is always available to help us raise children who grow strong in faith and character. Recognizing the sacredness of our role is the first step toward parenting with intention and purpose. It's easy to get lost in the busyness of daily life, between school runs, work, and household responsibilities. But when we take a moment to reflect, we remember that our actions, words, and choices are all shaping the lives of our children in ways we might not always see. Saint Michael can help us remain mindful of the eternal significance of our parenting journey, grounding us in the knowledge that each moment with our children is an opportunity to reflect God's love. There will be times when the demands of parenting feel exhausting, and moments when we may doubt whether we are doing enough. Yet, we are reminded that God does not expect perfection from us. He calls us to be faithful. As we embrace the role of a parent, we must also embrace humility, understanding that we need God's wisdom every step of the way. Saint Michael encourages us to turn to God in these moments of uncertainty, trusting that He will guide us as we navigate the complexities of parenthood. Let us now take a moment to consider how we view our role as parents. Are we approaching it with the gravity it deserves, seeking God's guidance in every decision? Or are we trying to manage it on our own strength, forgetting that God has given us this responsibility and the grace to fulfill it? With Saint Michael's intercession, we can approach our parenting with renewed faith, trusting that God will equip us with the wisdom, patience, and love needed to raise our children in his ways. Saint Michael, guide me as I embrace the role of a parent, recognizing the immense responsibility that God has entrusted to me. Help me to understand the eternal impact of my words, actions, and decisions, and give me the wisdom to lead my children toward God's love. When I feel uncertain or overwhelmed, remind me that I am not alone, and that God is always with me, ready to offer the guidance I need to raise my children in faith. Parenting tests our patience like few other things in life. From tantrums and misunderstandings to the challenges of navigating different personalities and emotional needs, we are constantly called to respond with patience and compassion. Yet, in the busyness and stress of daily life, it is easy to lose our temper or respond in ways that do not reflect God's love. We may feel frustrated, tired, or even defeated at times. This is why we must seek God's help in cultivating patience, so that we can lead our children with kindness and understanding, even in the most difficult moments. In Psalm, chapter 103, verse 8, we are reminded that the Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. As parents, we are called to reflect this same patience and grace in our interactions with our children. It can be challenging to keep our cool in stressful situations, but with God's help, we can learn to be slow to anger, just as He is with us. Saint Michael can intercede for us, helping us to develop the patience and compassion needed to respond with love, even when our children test our limits. Patience is not simply about controlling our emotions in the moment. It's about seeing the bigger picture. It's about recognizing that our children are learning, growing, and making mistakes, just as we are. When we approach them with patience, we give them the space to grow without fear of harsh judgment. Compassion goes hand in hand with patience, allowing us to understand the feelings and struggles our children face. Saint Michael, who embodies strength and protection, can also teach us how to balance patience with firmness, ensuring that our guidance is both loving and strong. There will inevitably be moments when we fall short of the patience we aspire to have. In those moments, it's important to remember that parenting is a journey, one in which we are also learning and growing. Instead of being harsh with ourselves for losing patience, we can turn to God for grace and ask for the strength to do better next time. Saint Michael reminds us that it is never too late to approach our children with renewed compassion and understanding, even after a difficult day. As we think about the challenges we face in parenting, let's ask ourselves, how can we cultivate more patience in our daily interactions with our children? Are we quick to respond in frustration? Or are we taking the time to listen and understand their needs? With Saint Michael's help, we can develop the patience that reflects God's love and grace, creating a home environment where our children feel safe, loved, and understood. Saint Michael, help me to embody patience and compassion in my parenting. When I feel overwhelmed or frustrated, guide me to respond with grace, remembering the love that God shows me each day. Teach me to see my children's struggles through eyes of compassion, and help me to lead them with patience, even in difficult moments. Strengthen me in times of weakness, and remind me that God is always ready to offer the grace I need to grow as a parent. Discipline is an essential part of parenting, but it is a delicate balance. While discipline helps children understand boundaries and learn important life lessons, it must always come from a place of love and care. Without love, discipline can feel harsh or punitive, but when rooted in love, it becomes a tool that shapes our children's character and helps them grow into compassionate, responsible individuals. As parents, we are called to discipline in a way that reflects God's love for us, a love that corrects but never condemns. In Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 11 to 12, we read, "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father the son he delights in." This passage reminds us that discipline, when done in love, is an expression of care and guidance. God corrects us because he loves us, and as parents, we are asked to follow this example. Saint Michael, who fights to protect us from spiritual harm, can help us find the right balance between correction and compassion in our own parenting, guiding us to discipline in a way that builds our children up. It can be challenging to know how to correct our children without being overly harsh or too lenient. In moments of frustration, we may be tempted to respond with anger, or conversely, to avoid disciplining at all in an effort to keep the peace. But true discipline requires both firmness and love. Saint Michael helps us to cultivate wisdom in these moments, showing us how to set boundaries that are clear, consistent, and always communicated with love. Discipline, when done properly, is not about punishment but about teaching and growth. Discipline is most effective when it is paired with understanding. Our children need to know not only that they are being corrected, but why. When we take the time to explain the reasons behind our discipline and show them how it is meant to help them grow, we foster an environment of trust. They learn that discipline is not something to fear, but something that is meant for their good. Saint Michael, as our protector, encourages us to build this trust, ensuring that our children feel safe, even when being corrected. As we reflect on our approach to discipline, let's think about how we can incorporate both love and firmness into our parenting. Are we disciplining out of frustration? Or are we taking the time to guide our children with patience and understanding? How can we better communicate the love behind our discipline? With Saint Michael's guidance, we can find the wisdom to correct our children in a way that helps them grow, while ensuring that they always feel loved and supported. Saint Michael, guide me in balancing discipline with love. Help me to correct my children in a way that reflects God's love, with patience, understanding, and compassion. When I am tempted to respond in frustration, remind me of the importance of discipline rooted in love. Teach me to set boundaries that help my children grow, while always making sure they feel safe and cared for in the process. With your guidance, I trust that I can lead them toward a path of wisdom and kindness. One of the greatest responsibilities we have as parents is to pass on the values that will guide our children throughout their lives. Beyond academics and life skills, we are tasked with instilling a sense of integrity, compassion, and, above all, faith. In a world filled with distractions and competing voices, it can be challenging to ensure that the core values we teach take root in their hearts. Yet, the foundation we lay now will shape their character for years to come. Through prayer, patience, and the grace of God, we can pass on the principles of faith and love that will guide our children through life. In Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 6 to 7, God commands, "These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up." This passage reminds us that teaching our children about faith and values is a daily responsibility, woven into the very fabric of our lives. It's not about grand gestures, but about small, consistent moments where we model the love and truth of God in our words and actions. Instilling values requires intentionality. Our children learn as much from what we do as from what we say. Saint Michael helps us remain steadfast in this mission, guiding us to lead by example and to live out the values we wish to instill in our children. Whether it's showing kindness to a stranger, practicing honesty in difficult situations, or turning to prayer in times of need, these actions speak volumes to our children. They see our faith in action and are more likely to adopt these values as their own when they see them authentically lived out. But instilling faith and values isn't only about teaching through example. It also involves open conversations where we explain the reasons behind our beliefs and values. Children are naturally curious, and they will have questions about faith, morality, and the world around them. It's important to create a space where these questions can be asked and answered with patience and clarity. Saint Michael, as a protector of truth, encourages us to engage in these conversations, knowing that they are opportunities to strengthen our children's understanding of God and His teachings. As we consider how we are instilling faith and values in our children, it's important to ask, are we creating consistent opportunities to teach them about faith? Are we modeling the values we wish to see in them? And are we taking the time to answer their questions about life and faith with patience and openness? With Saint Michael's help, we can ensure that the seeds of faith we plant in their hearts will grow strong and bear fruit throughout their lives. Saint Michael, help me to instill values and faith in my children each day. Teach me to lead by example, living out the principles of love, honesty, and compassion that I wish to see in them. Guide me in creating a home where faith is taught and practiced, and where my children feel comfortable asking questions about God and the world. With your intercession, I trust that the seeds of faith I plant will grow into a lifelong relationship with God for my children. As parents, we are constantly being observed by our children, even when we don't realize it. They watch how we respond to challenges, how we treat others, and how we live out our faith. More than our words, it is our actions that leave a lasting impression on their hearts. Leading by example is one of the most powerful ways we can influence our children. It's not about being perfect, but about showing them what it means to live a life grounded in love, integrity, and faith. Our children learn what we prioritize by the way we spend our time and handle everyday situations. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, we are encouraged. Set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. This verse is a call to all of us, reminding us of the importance of living in a way that reflects the values we hope to pass on. Saint Michael, who is known for his unwavering faithfulness to God, can help us remain steadfast in our commitment to lead by example, even when it is difficult. He reminds us that our children's spiritual and moral development is often shaped by the silent lessons they learn from watching us. It's easy to tell our children to be kind, to forgive, or to trust in God, but if they don't see those values reflected in our own lives, the lesson will not take root. We must strive to be the examples they need, showing them through our actions what it means to live a life of faith. This doesn't mean we have to be flawless, but rather that we must be authentic. When we fall short, we can show our children what humility looks like by seeking forgiveness and trying again. Saint Michael encourages us to live with integrity, so that our children see consistency between what we say and what we do. There will be moments when leading by example is especially challenging. Perhaps we're tired, stressed, or dealing with personal struggles, and it's easy to let those feelings affect how we interact with our children. Yet, these are the very moments when our example matters most. It's in the hard times that our children see whether we truly rely on God's strength or give in to frustration. Saint Michael can guide us through these difficult times, helping us model resilience, faith, and grace. Rather than asking ourselves if we're being perfect parents, let's consider: are we living out the values we want our children to embody? Are we showing them what it means to rely on God in both good times and bad? With Saint Michael's help, we can lead by example, offering our children a model of faith and integrity that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Saint Michael, guide me to lead by example in my parenting. Help me to live in a way that reflects the values of love, faith, and integrity that I wish to pass on to my children. When I fall short, remind me to show humility and seek forgiveness, knowing that my example matters more than my words. Strengthen me in times of difficulty, so that my children see in me a life rooted in God's grace and faithfulness. One of the greatest challenges for any parent is learning to trust God with our children's future. As much as we want to protect and guide them, we cannot control every aspect of their lives. There will come a time when we must release them into the world, trusting that God will continue to watch over them and guide their steps. It is natural to worry about the challenges they may face, but our role is to plant seeds of faith and trust that God will bring them to fruition. This requires a deep reliance on God's sovereignty and a willingness to surrender our fears for their future. In Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, God speaks a promise. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This verse offers us great comfort as parents. It reminds us that God's plans for our children are good, even if we cannot always see the full picture. Saint Michael, who stands as a guardian over us, helps us release our fears and anxieties, trusting that God's hand is always at work in the lives of our children. It's natural to want to protect our children from every possible harm, but the reality is that they will face difficulties and challenges that we cannot always shield them from. In these moments, we must remember that God is their ultimate protector. Just as He has a plan for our lives, He also has a perfect plan for theirs. Trusting God with their future means letting go of our need for control and placing our children in His capable hands. St. Michael reminds us that God's protection is far greater than anything we could offer on our own. There may be times when we worry about the decisions our children will make as they grow older, whether they will hold on to the faith we've taught them, or how they will navigate the world's challenges. While these concerns are natural, they should not overwhelm us. God's grace is with them, just as it is with us. St. Michael can help us find peace in the knowledge that our children's future is not solely in our hands. God is their shepherd, and He will guide them, even when we cannot. Instead of carrying the burden of worry for their future, we can begin to ask ourselves, are we truly trusting God with our children's lives? Are we surrendering our fears for their future? Or are we trying to control outcomes that are beyond our reach? With St. Michael's help, we can learn to trust in God's perfect plan for our children, knowing that He will guide and protect them as they grow. St. Michael, help me to trust God with my children's future. When I am tempted to worry or control, remind me that God has a plan for their lives, one that is good and full of hope. Teach me to surrender my fears and anxieties, trusting that God will guide their steps and watch over them. Strengthen my faith so that I can release my children into God's loving care, knowing that His protection is always with them. Parenting is filled with countless decisions, some small and others that weigh heavily on our hearts. Whether it's choosing the right school for our children, deciding how to handle a behavioral issue, or navigating more complex life situations, these decisions often come with uncertainty. As parents, we can find ourselves questioning which path is best and wondering how to make choices that will lead to the greatest benefit for our children. It is in these moments of uncertainty that we must rely on God's wisdom, trusting that He will guide us toward the right decisions. In James, chapter 1, verse 5, we are reminded, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." This verse is a comforting reminder that we are never left to make difficult decisions on our own. God promises to provide the wisdom we need when we seek it through prayer. St. Michael, as a heavenly warrior of discernment, can help us to hear God's voice more clearly in moments of uncertainty, guiding us to make decisions that are aligned with God's will for our families. Difficult decisions often come with a mix of fear and doubt. We may feel the weight of the responsibility on our shoulders, worrying about whether the choices we make will have the desired outcome. However, God does not expect us to have all the answers. He invites us to seek His counsel and trust that He will guide us, even when the way forward seems unclear. St. Michael, who stands as a protector and guide, encourages us to lean into God's wisdom, knowing that He is always present in the decisions we face. When we approach parenting decisions with prayer and faith, we open ourselves to God's guidance. It's important to remember that even when we don't have clarity right away, God is still at work. Patience is often required in these moments, as we wait for God's direction. St. Michael teaches us the value of waiting on God, rather than rushing into decisions out of fear or anxiety. By surrendering our worries and trusting in God's timing, we find the peace we need to make decisions with confidence. Rather than focusing on the fear of making the wrong choice, let us consider how we can invite God into every decision we face. Are we taking time to seek His wisdom before acting? Are we placing our trust in His guidance rather than relying solely on our understanding? With St. Michael's intercession, we can approach parenting decisions with a sense of peace, knowing that God's wisdom is always available to us when we ask for it. St. Michael, help me to navigate the difficult decisions I face as a parent. When I feel uncertain or afraid, guide me to seek God's wisdom and trust in His direction. Teach me to be patient in waiting for clarity, and remind me that God is always at work, even when I cannot see the full picture. Strengthen my faith as I make choices for my children, trusting that God's guidance will lead us on the right path. The bond between parent and child is one of the most important relationships we will ever experience. It is within this relationship that trust, communication, and love are nurtured. However, building a strong relationship with our children requires intentional effort, especially in today's world, where distractions abound. With the demands of work, technology, and the fast pace of life, it can be easy to become disconnected. Yet, our children long for our attention, guidance, and love. A strong relationship built on mutual respect and open communication creates a safe space for our children to grow, thrive, and feel supported. In Colossians chapter 3, verse 21, parents are reminded, "Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged." This verse emphasizes the importance of fostering a loving and respectful relationship with our children, one that encourages rather than discourages. Saint Michael, as a guardian of relationships, can help us build these strong bonds with our children by teaching us how to listen, communicate, and connect with them in meaningful ways. He reminds us that our relationship with our children should reflect God's love, patient, kind, and always open to understanding. Communication is the foundation of any strong relationship, and this is especially true in parenting. Our children need to know that they can come to us with their fears, questions, and dreams without fear of judgment. By creating an atmosphere of openness, we encourage our children to share their hearts with us, strengthening the bond of trust between parent and child. Saint Michael helps us to be present in these moments, reminding us that our attention and presence are gifts we can offer our children daily. Strong relationships are built not only in moments of joy, but also in times of challenge. It's during difficult conversations or when our children make mistakes that we have the opportunity to show them grace, compassion, and forgiveness. These are the moments when the foundation of trust is solidified. Saint Michael, who serves as a protector and guide, helps us to respond with love and patience, even when emotions run high. He reminds us that building a strong relationship takes time, effort, and a commitment to love unconditionally. As we reflect on the relationships we have with our children, we might ask, are we investing the time and effort necessary to strengthen these bonds? Are we creating an environment where our children feel safe, loved, and understood? With Saint Michael's help, we can build relationships that are rooted in love and trust, ensuring that our children always feel connected to us and confident in our support. Saint Michael, guide me as I seek to build strong and loving relationships with my children. Help me to be present, patient, and open in my communication with them. Teach me to listen with compassion and to offer understanding when they come to me with their challenges. Strengthen the bond of trust between us, so that our relationship reflects God's love and grace, even in difficult moments. As parents, there will inevitably be moments when we fall short of our own expectations. We might lose our temper, make a decision we later regret, or fail to offer the patience our children need in a difficult moment. Parenting is an ongoing journey of growth, and with that comes the reality of making mistakes along the way. What matters most is not the absence of failure, but how we respond to those moments with humility, grace, and a willingness to learn. It's through these imperfections that we have the opportunity to show our children the importance of forgiveness and self-compassion. In Psalm chapter 103, verses 13 to 14, it is written, "As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. For he knows how we are formed, he remembers that we are dust." This verse reminds us that God understands our humanity and our weaknesses. He does not expect perfection from us as parents, and instead offers us grace when we fall short. Saint Michael, who stands as a symbol of strength and protection, helps us to embrace this grace, guiding us to respond to our own parenting failures with humility and the knowledge that we are always learning. Acknowledging our mistakes doesn't diminish our role as parents. Rather, it strengthens our relationships with our children. When we model humility by apologizing or admitting when we were wrong, we teach them the value of taking responsibility for their actions. This act of vulnerability builds trust and shows our children that it's okay to make mistakes, as long as we learn from them and strive to do better. Saint Michael can help us navigate these moments of failure, ensuring that they become opportunities for growth rather than moments of shame or discouragement. There are times when our parenting mistakes can weigh heavily on our hearts. We may feel guilty for losing our patience or regret not being present when our children needed us most. In these moments, it's easy to fall into self-criticism, but Saint Michael encourages us to turn instead toward God's grace. Parenting is not about being perfect, but about growing in love and wisdom alongside our children. When we rely on God's strength rather than our own, we find the grace to move forward with renewed purpose and intention. Instead of dwelling on past mistakes, we can ask ourselves, how can we respond to our parenting failures with grace? Are we willing to model humility and forgiveness for our children, showing them that growth comes through imperfection? With Saint Michael's guidance, we can embrace the lessons found in our failures, knowing that God is always with us, offering the grace we need to become the parents He has called us to be. Saint Michael, guide me as I navigate the moments when I fall short as a parent. Help me to respond to my failures with humility, grace, and a willingness to learn from my mistakes. Teach me to model forgiveness and compassion for my children, showing them that growth comes through grace. Strengthen me in times of self-doubt, and remind me that God is always with me, offering the wisdom and strength I need to become a better parent each day. Prayer is one of the most powerful tools we have as parents. While we may not always be able to control the circumstances our children face, we can entrust them to God through daily prayer. Prayer allows us to release our worries, fears, and hopes for our children into God's hands, knowing that He loves them even more than we do. Through prayer, we can seek God's protection over their lives, ask for guidance in their decisions, and trust in His plan for their future. As parents, there is no greater gift we can give our children than the gift of consistent, heartfelt prayer. In Philippians chapter 4, verses 6-7, we are reminded, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This passage teaches us the importance of turning to prayer, not only in times of worry, but in every aspect of our children's lives. Saint Michael, as an intercessor, can help us stay consistent in our prayers for our children, reminding us to trust that God is always listening and at work in their lives. Daily prayer for our children is not just about asking for their safety or success. It's about entrusting their entire lives to God's care. We pray for their spiritual growth, their friendships, their health, and for them to develop the character and faith that will guide them through life. Saint Michael helps us lift our prayers to heaven, standing as a protector over our children and leading us to pray with faith and confidence. Through prayer, we not only cover our children in God's grace, but also grow in our own trust in His provision. There will be moments when we may feel helpless as parents, times when our children face difficulties that are beyond our control. It's in these moments that prayer becomes our greatest source of strength. Rather than succumbing to fear or anxiety, we can turn to God, trusting that He is always watching over our children. Saint Michael reminds us that our prayers are powerful and that God hears every word we offer on behalf of our children. As we reflect on the role of prayer in our parenting, we can ask, are we consistently praying for our children, trusting God with their lives? Are we turning to prayer as our first response when concerns arise? With Saint Michael's help, we can commit to daily prayer for our children, knowing that God's love and protection are always with them, no matter where life takes them. Saint Michael, help me to pray daily for my children, entrusting their lives to God's loving care. Guide me to lift up every aspect of their lives in prayer, from their spiritual growth to their friendships and future. Teach me to rely on prayer as a source of strength and peace, knowing that God is always watching over them. With your intercession, I trust that my prayers will be heard, and that God's grace will cover my children each day. As we embrace each new day as parents, we are reminded of the incredible opportunity to seek God's wisdom in all we do. The responsibility of guiding our children is profound, but it is one we do not face alone. God is always with us, offering the strength, patience, and love we need to nurture our children. Through prayer and the intercession of Saint Michael, we recognize that every decision and every moment we share with our children is an opportunity to reflect God's grace, shaping their hearts and minds for the future. When doubts or uncertainties arise, we are invited to lean on God's understanding, knowing that He is guiding us. His wisdom is limitless, and His grace is always available, helping us to respond with faith, even in challenging times. As we raise our children, we trust that God's protection and guidance will lead them on the right path, just as He leads us in our role as parents. Saint Michael remains by our side, watching over our families and helping us make choices that reflect God's love and truth. Our daily prayers for our children serve as powerful acts of love, entrusting their lives and futures into God's hands. With Saint Michael's intercession, we find peace in knowing that our families are covered by God's grace, and we are equipped to face any challenge with confidence. Let us continue to rely on His wisdom, knowing that the love we show our children today will have a lasting impact on their hearts, and that God's protection will be with them wherever they go. If there is something on your heart regarding your role as a parent, or if you wish to ask for God's wisdom in a specific area of your children's lives, I invite you to share your prayer request in the comments below. By sharing your prayer, you are opening the door for others to join you in asking for Saint Michael's intercession and God's guidance. If this prayer has brought you comfort or encouragement, please like this video so others may find the same peace in their parenting journey. And don't forget to subscribe for more prayers that will strengthen your faith and your family life. Together, let us continue to seek God's wisdom for our families, trusting in His protection and grace every step of the way.